Well, session 2 is on Get Active to Prevent Type 2. And so that's something really all of us need to do anyway, but we have a few slides trying to describe what that is. And sometimes people get confused. They think activity has to be a planned, scheduled exercise, a class, a spin class, something like that, and it doesn't. Initially, it actually can be just increasing the usual activity that you can in your regular day. That may be a good starting space if one doesn't feel like they have time for scheduled activity or gym or something before work or after. We're going to talk about some tonight, the benefits of getting active, the ways to get more active in our everyday life, and ways to keep it safe being active in a pandemic with different gyms and things being shut down. What could people do as their backup plan B, and then develop a action plan around the physical activity, a specific thing of what can you do. Does anyone have any questions as we begin? How does activity lower one's risk for developing diabetes? Because that's what this class is about, is reducing risk and lowering the possibility of diabetes starting. It helps in several ways. It helps one to lose some weight. I know last year when we conducted the program, I believe one lady lost over 30 pounds in her program and her activity level. It lowers your blood sugar because it helps you kind of burn off some of the intake that you've had. And then it increases the ability for the insulin that you may still have and may still make to be sensitive and work in your body. So it works a little better, so that there's at least 3 things that being active, especially on a regular basis, can do for you. What amount do we need to do, or what is recommended? And it kind of depends. There's a study that shows about 1/3 of us are active as much as we should be. About 1/3 of us are underactive. We have some activity, some exercise, but not the amount that is needed. And then we have 1/3 that's the couch potato, the sedentary lifestyle, really not with any extra activity or exercise to speak of. So all of us, regular, normal, healthy adults, need about 150 minutes a week. So that could be 30 minutes 5 times a week, the weekend, or 7 days a week is even a little better if you have the time to get it in those days, but at least the majority of the days of the week. In addition, though, we don't measure it as part of this program. We just measure, you tell us how many minutes. So we don't need to know if you got 10,000 steps or anything of that nature, just how many minutes in the full week. It may have been 45 one day and 15 one day, averages out to 30 a day. But we don't measure or have you report out on strengthening or resistance exercise, though it is recommended for 2 times a week. Flexibility or stretching exercises is recommended 10 minutes 2 or 3 times a week. And then posture or balance. So all of the other 3 are recommended as well for overall health. The cardio exercises, the aerobic exercises kind of helps reduce the risk for diabetes. And then primary care providers are getting a little more diligent sometimes and asking you about this. Now, we'll ask you every week, but we haven't always been asked at our doctor's office, how much exercise do you get? How many minutes per week? How many days per week are you active, where you are increasing your blood pressure, heart rate above usual or at a moderate rate? But some clinics now, those that are kind of considering lifestyle factors, trying to get that documented, are asking more questions about activity, minutes, how many fruits and vegetables, how much water do you drink? So they're asking those type lifestyle vital signs in addition to just measuring your blood pressure and your pulse and your respirations and your temperature. So it may just come out as a simple question of, on average, how many days a week are you moderately active and for how many minutes usually? So no one has the exact amount every day. Okay. I don't know what happened to, okay, it is going to pop in, I guess slowly. Other benefits of active, better sleep, both quality and quantity. So getting more hours, getting a deeper sleep, getting some REM sleep. They discourage heavy exercise right before bed. It doesn't help so much, but 2 or 3 hours ahead of going to bed, or if you want to exercise closer to bedtime, something more the stretches, yoga, something of that nature. See if I can get the next ones to continue to, I don't know why these will not pop in. Oh, now they are. Better mood stimulates your brain chemicals, leaving you more relaxed and less anxious. A lot of times it works quickly to help improve the mood. So if you're feeling the stress, it may be time to go take a few laps around the hospital. If you work there like I do, and go over to the mail room and over to Chick-fil-A, don't buy anything, just turn around and keep walking back, but get in your steps to alter the mood. They encourage, if possible, that you get your walk outside in nature, that is even more relaxing than a treadmill or something else. But getting the steps will work, and the improvement of the mood is a good side effect. It improves balance and flexibility. So part of just the walk and getting active does improve that. I'm getting texts from some of y'all that are on their way. Lowers your blood pressure and your triglycerides, and it improves the good cholesterol, because a lot of times the good cholesterol works like a vacuum cleaner of kind of vacuuming out your bad cholesterol. You want it to be higher rather than lower, and activity is one of the things that helps it improve. There's not particularly a lot of medicines or anything that improves the good cholesterol. It's activity and exercise that does the most of that. Lowers your risk of heart attack and stroke by being more active. Lowers your stress level, and you feel like you have more energy to do things. Although sometimes you'll hear folks say, and I've said it myself, I'm too tired to exercise. I'm too tired to do anything extra. But if you actually do exercise or do extra or walk, you generally feel more energy than before. And then social connections safely. So while some of the gyms were shut down and some still are kind of limiting, and I know our local yoga class only can do 4 participants at a time to keep them safely distanced, they're also live streaming so folks can attend from home. So for those that prefer a social connection with their activity, or exercising with a friend, or having someone to walk with, it does improve social connections. Others need a period of time where they're quiet and by themselves. They don't want anyone with them at certain times. So any combination will work. And you can have it both ways, either as a quiet time to de-stress and walk, or a time to connect with others, have an accountability partner of you're more likely to go walking if your partner is waiting on you to go walk with them. And last, stronger muscles. And then you continue to burn more calories at rest. So after you exercise, even for a few days, your underlying rate at which you burn calories is a little higher. And then improves your cognition and reduces the risk of dementia. Now, the improved cognition, pretty much that day. So I can't exercise today and think I'm going to not have Swiss cheese for brains the next 3 days. I need to have activity and movement every day to keep the cognition part up. But the overall reduced risk of dementia, if that is a risk factor like diabetes is in your family. So hard to go wrong with exercise and activity, as long as you do it safely with proper equipment and on a proper surface, so that you don't put yourself at risk for any type injury. Okay, now I've been talking the most, and I feel bad about it because we do not want this to be like a lecture. So now it's time for all of you to brainstorm. We're all in one of these 3 categories: adequately exercising already, exercising but not near enough, and then just totally sedentary. So as you are now, what can you do? What can you start tomorrow to get more active? What can you do at all? So anybody that wants to, just jump right in there and say what they might plan to do tomorrow. It may be something as simple as, I'm going to take my tennis shoes to work, and at lunch I'm going to get out and walk for 30 minutes and then go back to work.
And if you want, you can add it to the chat box.
Yes, that's true. I can't see the chat box, so Dr. Rayford will tell us what you're doing.
Yep, and I'm watching the chat box too. So one thing that I'm not doing right now, but I can do is um, I can ride the stationary bike while I'm watching Zoom calls or even watching TV.
There was
Um,
a conference that we attended that the speakers would be, one of them was on a treadmill, one of them was doing different things for activity. You could see them on screen.
yeah.
They were demonstrating activity and exercise.
So one comment from Angel said, "Walk from one end of the hospital to the other."
That's true. And I know Angel, because her office is across from mine, she has stretchy bands. And so she gets some of the stretches and flexibility exercises in at different times at her desk because she came prepared.
So Marlena said, walking on the lunch break,
You know,
and when it's warmer, there are people walking around IMA on
yeah.
on lunch break. For Alicia, there's a video called "Walk Off the Pounds," and so with plans to start the video tomorrow.
Yeah, because that's safe within your home. That they make numerous videos or even live stream events. The Peloton folks have a um, 2-month free offer I saw today. So a lot of companies are trying to reach out to people in the pandemic to keep them busy, because if it was your plan and you went to the gym every day and that was your practice and they had to shut down, sometimes it takes you a minute to regroup and how to fit whatever into your life. I believe at the hospital near the cardiac rehab part, they have a time during the day that employees can go when others are not using that equipment, and you're inside and can't leave.
Yeah.
But they do.
So another response was chart while standing up. So
Yeah.
having to find the furniture. So I actually have a standing desk. I have a converter to convert my workstation from a standing station to a sitting station. And now I pretty much spend most of my day, except a good part of the lunch break, standing up when I'm charting, and I feel better. It's a little different than exercise, but it's helpful in keeping me from being sedentary. Um, but it's an option. And before I bought the conversion kit, I used books and boxes to raise my keyboard and raise the monitors up. So you don't have to spend money for it, but it was a great investment.
Mhm.
So a walking desk, and so I think what we're getting around to in terms of these suggestions, you know, all of the suggestions that we're making are ones that are not very hard to start working on, suggestions that are accessible for us. And all of the suggestions here don't seem to require a change of clothes, and that could be a
Oh,
big factor with trying to figure out how you're going to do it. Um, not necessarily requiring a change of clothes. And so, I think probably the key to the lesson is knowing that, you know, you can get started from wherever you are. And that's
right.
probably more important than, getting started from wherever you are is more important than starting, a certain way. So everybody should not go out and run marathons to get started. That's just not a good start for most people.
Right. I heard a saying, I've seen it attributed to the tennis great Arthur Ashe, and then I've heard it attributed to President Roosevelt, I believe. It goes something like, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So I'm the least fancy person I know as far as exercise. I'm not good with the equipment. Folks have tried to train me on how to work the equipment. If I start thinking about that treadmill, I will fall smooth off of it, because I have to just not think about it or I can't do it. Even though it's just walking and you think it'd be easy. So I'm not good with the machines, which many people are, but I can regular walk on a flat surface, and I can go down steps better than up. So sometimes if I'm up higher floors in the hospital, I'll come down the stairs. I always hold because I know how accident prone I am and clumsy. But others can, start with the stairs. I worked with one young nurse practitioner who had one of those balance balls as their desk chair. And they didn't have a base on it because I kept wondering if it was going to roll out from under them. It never did. They had excellent balance, and it apparently keeps the core quite contracted, and so that you feel like you're doing abdominal exercises while you're only sitting down. But they kept that balance ball all the time as their chair.
Wow.
And I was impressed that they could maintain that well of a balance, but they did.
Great.
Anybody else that's
So
got
it's
just
another
something
one.
totally different that they can do as an activity?
Yeah,
Some
so we have
people,
another one that so Tanya plans to walk on the lunch break.
okay.
And one thing is worth noting to bring it up is sometimes we have limitations for exercise. So people with severe arthritis of the knees and hips and ankles, uh, it's okay that they're not able to go out and walk miles and miles and miles. And, and it's not. It's more important for that person with limitations. So back pain, back trouble is really common. It's more important for those people to find something that they can do, um, versus doing something that, I think many people are frustrated that they can't walk long distances. And, you know, that's not the only exercise that's available. So that it's not the only exercise that's available, so that people can exercise around their limitations, or there's some specific exercises. So for people with significant arthritis of the hips, knees, ankles, and low back, there are some chair based exercises that, if you do them regularly, and build up, you can achieve a lot of the benefit from regular exercise. And so don't feel bad if you can't go out there and walk or run or even lift weights. So Alaric says walk laps in the gym on his planning period.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome to have access to a gym. And again, things that you can do without necessarily having to change clothes. And so as far as exercises go, if you're able to walk, walking is a very effective exercise throughout. It's there's study after study to show the benefits of walking. Tanya plans to park farther away in a safe parking spot
Right.
to get more steps in, and that's also something that you can do, um, in terms of doing things intentionally, or taking more steps or more effort to do things. So if I'm having to go to a certain floor, taking the elevator in a certain, not taking the elevator and using the stairs. So having a rule sometimes of, I'll walk one flight up and down two flights. And so you can always have that, and you'll find yourself walking more.
Right. And to me, the more you can embed in your regular day, I'm not one to do too much before work or after, as far as if I have to go somewhere to do it, like to a gym. But if I can get it in during the day, I seem to get more minutes in. Like he mentioned, it's planning period or at lunch break or somewhere in there, because folks who work 10 or 12 hours, sometimes they don't have a lot of extra time on either end. But then others, that is their relaxation. When they get off, to go to the gym, to burn off the stress, to burn off the frustration, and kind of regroup, works for them.
That works.
So there's so many doesn't have to be a specific way to be good. But seems like they came up with lots of good ideas that they can start tomorrow. It doesn't cost a penny. Just start tomorrow. Okay. You have the exercise as far as having the tennis shoes. They make all kind of shoes, but just regular tennis shoes would be enough, or just comfortable shoes, things that you would not get a blister or injury or be at risk for turning an ankle or anything like that. Just something sturdy.
Yeah. And so on that slide, Rebecca, that talk test, so that slide is, so if somebody's wondering, what the difference between moderate exercise and vigorous exercise. If you're exercising at a moderate at a moderate level, you're able to talk and have a conversation, but you're not able to sing.
Yeah.
And if you're exercising so hard, and it really doesn't matter what you're doing, so it varies by your kind of baseline level. If you're not able to talk like we're talking, and you're only able to say one or two words, then you're exercising pretty close to vigorous. And so what that means is you can use that perceived exertion to determine, whether you're doing vigorous. And you can, with walking, you can actually walk at a comfortable conversation pace versus a pace where you're not able to comfortably have a conversation. And even though it's walking, that can be vigorous physical activity. I mean, you can tell. So walk up an incline or walk up a hill. You're going up your speed may not change, but the incline may be enough to increase the intensity. And so we're hoping that as you're measuring the amount of, and if you're going to lift weights, if you're doing it at I would actually encourage you to include time spent lifting weights too. Um, it's a little new for the program, but it's time exercising. So, time lifting weights, and especially if you're, able to, in the process of lifting weights, again, be able to talk, but not being able to sing. So you can feel some moderate exertion even with the weight loss. The weightlifting, you think of weightlifting where there's a lot of breaks between sets and things like that. But if you feel your heart rate gets up and you feel like you're able to talk but not sing, that's actually moderate intensity.
Yep, that's true. This is just one example of online or DVD programs. There's several out there, and in fact, I used to own this very one of this person with any time is walking time. So anywhere you can get it in, but so many options now, so much more than in the past when it used to be the old videotapes. But if you have a phone or a computer, there are apps and all type of activities. So you can find one that you like, that suits you, that's the pace you want, that meets your needs. Okay, each week we have a story, someone's story and kind of their challenges. And then we also try to talk amongst ourselves of our own challenges and issues that we may have, ways that we overcome certain issues. Does anyone want to describe what is Teo's story? What was his focus? Because he was the focus on the get more active. You see him, you see a family member with him. Anybody want to kind of describe his story, or I can, either one. But you should have a printout of his story, which he's at risk, just like all the rest of us, for type 2 diabetes. And he's been told to lose 20 pounds if possible and to do the 150 minutes of activity. Well, he's married with 5 children. His kids play sports. He spends a lot of time driving them, watching their practices, watching their games, and he works full time. On weekends, he even works a second job, a part-time job. So when he has free time, he likes to do something that's fun, that he enjoys, basketball on TV, but he spends a lot of time sitting when he's not actually at work. He doesn't play basketball himself. He watches on television. But in trying to figure out ways to get active and looking at his busy lifestyle overall, he started to determine that he should walk on the sidelines when they're at practice, just back and forth, not sit in the chair, walk with a friend during his lunch break, or, if he had a gym or anything at work, because oftentimes your work will have good possibilities for you to do that and encourage their employees to get in their activity. My daughter-in-law, her job in life is to help where she works, the employees at that plant, to exercise. So she does exercise before, during, and after work for different groups. I think she exercises about 6 hours a day as part of her job, and then goes home and does what she considers she should do. He started playing basketball with his children instead of just watching it. And he takes the stairs instead of the elevator. So without adding anything to his already very busy schedule, he's just incorporating more physical activity into it, like we mentioned. He gets active over time, and he gets up to his 150 minutes a week, and his weight starts going down, and his blood sugar starts being lower. He's feeling better, sleeping better, and he has more energy. So how did he decide to come up with those things? Pretty much an action plan. He considered, just like we brainstormed and thought of things, if you have a dog, you could take your dog walking, run or walk fast when you do errands. But he pretty much would have a page just like you have, an action plan log, where you have to get pretty detailed about it. It's not like, well, I'll walk at work. You come up with, what will I do? I will walk. Where will I walk? Behind the hospital on the walking track. So, or on 5th floor around the empty unit. How long will I walk? 30 minutes at lunch. What would be a challenge? Well, if we're busy, I may not get lunch on time every day. It may be a different time. It may would be more convenient, or I would not get a whole 30-minute lunch or something. So what would be barriers? What might you have to overcome? And then just get it figured out and repeat that each day. So we mentioned some of the things. Does anyone want to describe one of their action plans of what they're going to do tomorrow? There's specific things. I know Tanya's going to park further away from her clinical site, and at lunch she's going to walk with those that walk at that clinic. Anybody else want to offer up your action plan? Because there is no wrong action plan. If it moves you from less active to more active, it's perfect.
Yeah. And I encourage you, when you're thinking about it, to
runs during conferences.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do run during, if I'm not on stationary bike, if I don't need to be behind the camera, I might run during the chats.
Right.
So if as you're thinking about action plan, think about something small, small enough for you to do it, and something small, find the time to do it, which is great. So Angel says, kind of what she will do is walk more during lunch and stand up every 30 to 45 minutes. And so each of those could be something that could be put in, that what will I do type thing. Let's just take the standing up more as the goal. Stand up more. When will you do it? Once every 30 to 45 minutes. Where are you going to do it? Wherever you are. When will you do it? Every 30 to 45 minutes. How long? So you may pick, I'm going to stand up and move around for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And then as you anticipate those challenges, it could be, well, we're in a lot of lectures and things like that. We're in a lot of lectures, or there's a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of meetings, or, I do a lot of desk work. And then you start thinking about ways to cope with challenges. And, at this point, don't throw any money at the challenges. See if you can come with solutions that don't require money. And if you can't, and you want to, and you feel like it, at this point in the year, many people spend a lot of money on things that they don't necessarily, continue to use. I'm glad that I created my own stand-up desk first before I bought the conversion kit, because if it didn't work good for me, I wouldn't have spent the money. So, you can try to come up with a way to cope with a challenge before, I know I've been guilty of kind of going out to the sports store, going to Academy Sports, and just, buying stuff that I think is going to help fix a challenge. And then I realized I never used it.
Yeah. I've had lots of folks tell me about their exercise bike or their treadmill that serves as their clothes hanging for clothes drying. They just hang it on the handles since they don't use it. So definitely nothing that we've mentioned tonight has to cost you any money. I mean, till you get going and kind of pick what works for you. And we've talked about being safe. We think of the pandemic, but you're behind the story, it told on page 6 how to be active and be safe. So you want to be in a safe environment around, and sometimes people walk and run and bike on streets, and there's different levels of safety out there. So being alert if you are on regular roadways and not sidewalks or nature trails or anything that's kind of set aside just for walking. But the right shoes, something sturdy, and then drinking water before, during, and after. So taking water with you or having it available in case you do feel thirsty. And if you need to, slow down, not overdoing the no pain, no gain thing kind of, I think, needs to go out the window, because you don't want to get an injury, which would then prohibit your having any activity sometimes for a period of time, pushing yourself too fast, too hard, as opposed to a slow, steady increase in activity. So if you've not been walking 30 minutes a day all at one time, would be the best option. You may break it down into 3 10-minute little sections or 2 15-minute sections, or start out with 15 minutes and gradually build up, versus injuring yourself and then having to cut back for a longer period of time. For that, starting small, warm up before and cool down after. So taking that before and after time. So sometimes folks forget about that. They just kind of take off with their activity, but the before and after time. Work with the weather. If you are an outside walker, it's going to rain. On a rare occasion, it's going to snow. So what's your backup plan? Is there something available indoors, protected for those times? And most gyms, some malls, other businesses sometimes will allow walking in their area. But, don't, I laugh at my grandfather. The doctor told him after his heart attack to walk, and he would do that at 12 noon in Mississippi every day. In the very hottest part of the day, it would seem like. It wouldn't be cooler in the morning or afternoon. It had to be at noon. So don't overheat. Think of things like that. If you get a headache or faint feeling or dizzy or sick to your stomach, it's not in your best interest to continue. So you may need to stop, rest, drink water, and re-go. And then use good form when strength training, because sometimes if you don't use the proper technique, you can injure yourself more quickly than you imagine. So if you are going to use the machines and you're not familiar with how they work or how much weight or exactly what to do, or that they would be secured, make sure you have the professional at the gym to demonstrate and oversee maybe those first few times, because you don't want to, again, injure yourself trying to better yourself.
And
anybody
Melanie,
want to speak more to the action plan, or have they written in the
Melanie talked about what she did last week and being flexible, so having lots of meetings and kind of virtually, and how she was able to participate in those meetings while walking 2.5 miles in Veterans Park. So being flexible is another thing that's really helpful. And one part of flexibility is just being prepared and okay. So, that can mean, for or thinking about things that you can do that you don't have to change clothes. I think that as you're thinking about getting started, walking is just so accessible to people if you are able to do it. Again, I go back to if you're able to do it, but being flexible to say, hey, I'm listening to this call, I can walk around. And I think, coronavirus has given us this opportunity to, participate, but not have to be in a single place. So, I'm thankful that many of my afternoon meetings are flexible enough for me to be able to be able to walk if I need to, or bike if I need to, just to kind of just to get some activity in.
Right. While the COVID pandemic has hindered a lot of people in so many things, there's a whole set of others that kind of took control and charge of their life and health at the same time, because there were so many other things they couldn't do, that they had time to think about it, figure it out, and take action. So you'll see stories sometimes of different people that started a new activity, or lost weight, or improved their diet, or learned to cook healthier, because they had time to think and sort and do. So for those, it's been a bit kind of a benefit unanticipated. And then one thing I wanted to mention, and actually the radio station I had on this morning actually said this very thing this morning, and I'm like, I've heard that for years, but that both activity and the diet, the food that you have as your intake, are both important to overall health, and especially even for losing weight, which we're all trying to do, 5 to 7% of our body weight, but you almost can't out exercise a poor diet. So, as you're having more activity and exercise, try to also pick better choices or cooking methods or variety in your diet. And in combination, it's kind of a cumulative. They kind of have a synergy among the both of them to improve your health a little better. So everybody can't work on everything every minute, but as you're working on activity, at least think about what you're drinking and what you're eating, and how to next week. I know one of the fellows texted me today 2 vegan meals she had prepared this week and ate, and they were looking good. She made me hungry this afternoon because she just sent a picture of the plate, and so she had tested that out. So that's a good thing as well.